making the trek all the way up. I'm going to start with reading the guidelines and the code of conduct. So Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or ban participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive posters or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of this meeting. The board's executive committee and or other assigned committee will review repeated offenses and or behavior and ban the offender for an amount of time determined by the committee. If in-person attacks or outbursts continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities shall be summoned. And so folks should have the agenda in front of them. We'll start with introductions and attendance. We didn't have a meeting for the month of September, so we don't need to review minutes. Talk about any follow-up from previous months, and then we have some new business. Department of Health, Montefiore, North Central, DIFTA, Moya. I don't see any reps here, but if they come, we will certainly welcome any updates. We'll talk a little bit about the FY 2025 capital and expense budget request. And also, the agenda is being amended to include some new business that came online really late last week, which is the board's notification of adult use cannabis retail dispensary licenses and how we will, as a committee and more broadly as a board, address these moving forward. So I move to amend the agenda to include that very important discussion item. Do you want us to take a roll call vote for that, Carla?
No, I think you just ask if there's any opposition.
Yeah. Is there any opposition or objection to that?
No objection.
No
Awesome.
objections.
Thank you so much. And then we'll talk about anything that we should have on the agenda for next month, any updates that folks want to hear. So with that, I will just do a quick roll call. Michelle Avila present. Alfred Grant.
Here.
Helene Wilson.
She has a competing meeting,
Thank you.
so she couldn't make it.
Emmanuel Asamoah is also excused tonight. He's absent. Chad Royer.
Present.
Toby Buford.
Present.
Thank you. Cristiana Robles.
Present.
Awesome. We have quorum. Awesome. Thank you. And so we do have a couple of members from the public joining us, just to get everyone's names, please. You can introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'm Cirio Garino. I'm the enforcer for Garinos Against Graffiti, and I am the community activist, and I've been here for 70 years. So I've been there, done that, and done everything, and I am very vocal in my beliefs and what should and should not be done in this community.
Thank you, Cirio. AJ?
My name is AJ Ramos, local resident, born and raised in the district. Just out here fighting, because I feel like I'm in school. I graduate this year, I'm like living the textbook sometimes, so why not go use the skills that I'm learning in school for the community at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And he's a Raiders fan.
Yeah, but it was on sale, so sorry.
Charlie, do you
Just full
want to
disclosure.
introduce yourself? No? Okay. If you change your mind, you let us know, okay? Okay. Could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Aaron Boschka. I'm the Vice President, Government, Community Relations here at the Botanical Garden, and welcoming you to the Pfizer Plant Research Center. Upstairs, there's literally people doing plant experiments on things like cannabis and other sort of plants that affect our lives. So hope that you can be here often. This is a space that's available to you on and other spaces for community board meetings. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having
you.
us.
Hi everybody, Sheila Maloney, Editor-in-Chief of the Nova News. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. So moving into the agenda, as we talked about, we didn't hold a meeting in September, so there are no previous minutes to review. I don't think there's any previous business from September since we didn't have a meeting, and so going into new business, I don't see anyone from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. We actually got a message from them and they said that they would not be able to join us tonight, but that if we had any questions or topics to please let them know, and they hope to make themselves available at a future meeting. Anyone from Montefiore? North Central?
Mr. Jones would normally come, and I'm gonna make sure he has, because there are certain new things happening for North Central Bronx, for the community. And, we have today, I forgot what they call it, but it's training on, individuals with firearms or things like that, that would enter a public facility. And, we have now, which we're having, new employees called watch persons, because at the door front of the hospital, the entrances, they're putting the metal detectors. And, they have signs that show what are they looking for. They even got a picture of a knife, a gun, and they also have a picture of a hand grenade.
Yeah.
So this is serious business in terms of public facilities, and you know, with things going on now with the world and the
Right.
war and the precinct, so it's a very big thing about them refurbishing totally North Central Bronx.
Thank you, Alfred. Appreciate the update. We will absolutely reach out to Alfredo. Mr. Jones, he's been such a really great partner to this community board, and has hosted our committee meetings. So would love to have him give us an update as well on all of the updates, the safety updates that you just shared. Thanks for sharing with us. Anyone from the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs? Okay. So going into capital and expense budget request. So as folks know, every year the community board undertakes an expense and capital budget request process. So we do have a new committee and board member, so we'll just take a couple minutes to explain it. So the community board is able to make some requests and recommendations to city agencies to include in their upcoming budget, which is going to be negotiated in the spring of next year, in the spring of the next calendar year. So we're not talking about money for this year. It would be money that would start
June, I believe.
yeah, it's
June next year.
the fiscal year is
June.
I know it
Yeah.
ends June 30th.
Yeah.
July 1 through June 30th. So July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. And so every committee meets and they look at what they've requested in the past, what the agencies or the response was from the agency, and then we talk about whether we should have that on the agenda again, whether we should move it up or prioritize it. So it's a long process. We start the work in October, and we really start the work by circulating what we requested last year, looking it over, and then for the November meeting, we'll be able to talk about, okay, do we want to keep this request? Are there any items that we want to add? Are there any items that we want to take away? Then we take that to our larger board, and then the board holds a public hearing. So members of the public are able to give some input on that. And then we vote as a general board all together, and then we submit it when the time for the budget process comes. And Carla, did I
Yes,
miss
just-
anything? Or
No, just so
that's
you
very
know,
good.
this process is happening this month. And so tonight is the last day that you can provide feedback via the online survey.
Thank you.
I get those results tomorrow morning, and I present those results at the budget meeting tomorrow evening. And then we'll start drafting that document, and then the executive will review it. And then the public hearing happens on the 24th, and then the voting happens right after the public hearing. So it's a process that's happening very, very quickly. The last day to submit those items is the 31st
The 31st of October.
of this month, yes.
Okay.
So it's a very quick process. So if you can,
Does this preclude committee members and board members submitting new requests?
you can do it, the way you can do it, you'll do it either via the survey, or you email it to the chair and you CC me.
Okay.
And CC Jean too. She's the new chair of budget. So you send in the new request. That way we can start drafting that document.
Because I think there was one that came out of, and sorry to sidetrack,
That's okay.
from Veterans Committee that came from a motion, and I think Yahira made a recommendation to put that on the register for next year. So I would have to rewrite it, customize it, and then send it to you, copy G and copy
Yes.
Yahira, copy everyone else.
Right, yes.
Okay, got it.
And then for the public, should we do that too, or should we just say them now? I only got 3. Yeah. Prep
You
for
could-
the,
We can,
yeah.
if,
Sorry.
yeah.
Prep, Narcan, and then the senior center. It's the same 3 I do every year.
Mm-hmm.
3 historically marginalized communities that's not much done in the neighborhood for them. So access for all of them. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, AJ. So, Carla, can I just clarify this one more time?
Yes.
So, any community member that wants to give their own input, they need to fill out the survey by tonight.
Yes.
Okay. And that's that bit.ly link that you have in the agenda. Obviously, it's printed, but
Mhm.
you have digital copies of the agenda. So, if folks
Yeah.
want to request
Yeah.
something, you can still do that by the end of tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
And
I've done
then-
the survey. It's just like, yeah,
Our
just in case.
And then
Sorry.
our committee can,
Sorry.
send any recommendations by the 31st, correct? October?
No, so all the requests have to be submitted by, I guess, the public hearing, which is the 24th.
Of November.
Right, because then, even before that, I would say, let me just give you an exact date, just because otherwise, Jean, I would say everything should be sent to us by the 23rd. That's
November.
October, not
October.
October. Yes,
Okay.
that is a very, very hard deadline. That way, any changes can be incorporated into the list. So once we read it to the public on the 24th, then they can provide all those final details for feedback, and then the voting happens that same evening.
So in my case, I have time then, right?
Yes,
But not much time.
not much time.
Okay,
It's
got
only
it.
a few days left. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. We'll do.
Next week, all right?
Right. So I'm gonna recirculate what this committee's requests have been, and if folks can let me know if there's a major issue via email before the 23rd, I would say by the 21st, and I'll put all of this in email, just so that folks are on the same page. So, right, today's the 17th. I'll recirculate all of the budget requests that are relevant to this committee from last year, and you'll see the response. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to talk about it coming on or off, please let me know by the 21st, which is the end of day Saturday, and we'll get our materials in by the 23rd, which is Monday. Any questions?
Oh, I guess one thing we probably should, unless the process changed, it's 25 capital requests and 40 expense requests, right?
Are we limited? We can.
No, I think I can definitely. I think.
I'm not sure if it changed. That's why.
No, I think it's the same format.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Everything remains the same. I think the only difference now is that tomorrow we have invited our council member offices, specifically the budget directors, and they will give feedback. I don't know if you've seen all of the responses, but a lot of the responses say reach out to your council member, and so all of the council members' offices are giving updates to the committee to say what is it, how is it that they're using this document, what items they have already funded, and that way we can edit that list to make room for new requests.
Okay.
Or find a new way to send those requests forward, so we don't keep getting the same responses every year.
Got you. Okay.
Any other questions? Awesome. Okay, so we're going to move on to our big agenda item tonight. So the notification of adult use cannabis retail dispensary license applications and our process. So I want to thank Carla for really being on top of this and bringing this to our attention. As I mentioned, we got word of these late last week, and so of course Carla was right on it. But what is happening is that the state is moving forward in their process to allow individual organizations to open retail dispensaries for cannabis. And so as these potential applicants get notice, they have to notify the community board, and the community board has a has a window to provide input on whether we approve of this or whether we reject this. However, the window is small. It's 30 days of after we're notified. And as you all know, we meet on a monthly basis, so 30 days is not a lot of time. We can ask for an extension, but it's not a long extension, it's 60 days. So what Carla moved really quickly to do was to notify me and then get all of the information that she possibly could and draft a protocol that we could review to conduct this in an orderly and timely fashion. And so we're gonna go over this, and what I want folks to please hold space for me to go through the whole presentation. If Carla has anything that she wanna add, I wanna invite her because she was a really big player here. And then I wanna have a respectful dialogue about the process, and also as we move forward into the next step in this process, and we invite these folks to come in and speak to us, just understanding the concerns that the committee has, the questions that the committee has, and the members of the public. So just want to make our intention really clear. Tonight, we're not going to talk about specific applicants. We're going to talk about the process, and we're going to get really clear on what that means. And next month, we will have this format super tight, and we'll be able to address these folks and ask questions of them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh.
So, I want to change my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so sensitive. And you also have this in your packets, okay? So folks can't see too well. So we wanted to start off by giving a little bit of background about what is legal in New York State. So adults over 21 can buy and possess up to 3 ounces of cannabis flower or up to 24 grams of concentrated cannabis, which includes oils, tincture, edibles, and vapes. Cannabis can be consumed in a private home or state licensed on-site consumption site. And just for a point of information, as of when we got this information, there are currently no licensed on-site consumption sites. Vaping and smoking cannabis is not allowed anywhere. Vaping and smoking tobacco is not allowed. So if you can't smoke cigarettes or other tobacco products in a specific location, you cannot do the same with cannabis. Sorry. Oh goodness. Okay. So what brought us here? How did this come to be? So the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act was passed and signed by the governor in March 31st of 2021. The MRTA created the cannabis law, the Office of Cannabis Management, and amended other existing laws. So prior to 2021, marijuana was not legalized. And so what this law did, it made it legal for adults 21 and older to possess and use cannabis. It expanded the existing medical cannabis and cannabinoid hemp programs. It created licenses for adult use cannabis businesses, which is what we're dealing with today. It established the Cannabis Control Board and the Office of Cannabis Management to oversee the cannabis and hemp industries. And it also set requirements to create a more equitable adult use cannabis market. So, going to our next page. So what is our role? What is the role of community boards in the process to approve or deny a cannabis license?
It says of deny.
Yeah, I was just gonna apologize for the typo. I apologize, I will update this. So per cannabis law, community boards and municipalities are allowed the opportunity to express an opinion on whether they support the Cannabis Control Board's approval of a retail dispensary, on-site consumption, or registered organizations with dispensing license in their area. Community boards do not have a role in other cannabis license types, including nurseries, cultivators, processors, and distributors. And if I'm not mistaken, there are about 9 licenses. So where do community boards fit into the process to approve retail dispensary and or on-site consumption licenses? So people or businesses who apply for a retail dispensary or on-site consumption license need to submit a notification that their proposed location is within the boundary of the municipalities prior to filing their application. The community board opinion will become part of the record, which the Cannabis Control Board shall grant or deny an application for a cannabis license. Applicants should afford the appropriate amount of time needed for the municipality or community board to opine on the proposed cannabis location. There's another typo, so I apologize, but once the community board receives the notice, they have approximately 30 days to provide an opinion. And like I said, we could also get another 30-day extension for a total of 60 days. And Carla, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to this.
No, I mean, if there's any questions at the end,
We can do it.
address
Okay,
them.
awesome. So I just want to again be very clear and transparent. This has just kind of come to head, and now all community boards are dealing with this in different ways. So there's not one clear set out process. Community boards are handling it in the way that they see fit, and so this is Community Board 7's effort to be collaborative, to be transparent, and to just design something that's going to be able to have us respond, because we have the opportunity to respond, but also do it in a way that's going to bring structure and order. Okay. So, in order for an applicant to obtain a letter of support or denial from Bronx Community Board 7, the following requirements must be fulfilled. Applicants must submit all required documents, the checklist is below, to the community board, and present themselves before the Bronx CB7's Health and Human Services Committee, attend the executive committee meeting and general board meeting if the motion is approved and continues to carry. And so this is the checklist. They have to complete a questionnaire, which is linked on Bitly. It's about 7 pages. It's very detailed. They have to state whether they have a provisional license. They have to provide a proof of certificate of occupancy from the New York City Department of Buildings. They should have a letter of intent from the landlord. They should have a site plan and floor plan, and we're asking for photographs of that. We are requesting a proximity report. So how close would this establishment be to schools or houses of worship? They should provide a cannabis product list, the menu and the prices, and an ancillary, so additional product list, menu and prices. Once all of these requirements are met, and this comes to the committee has a chance to weigh in. The Bronx Community Board 7 will send a letter to the Office of Cannabis Management, OCM. And again, it depends on whether the motion carries through this committee, through the executive committee, and the full board. And then we are able to support with conditions or objections. So again, just overview of the process. So once the applicants submit the notice to community board, they'll be asked to complete the questionnaire. The Health and Human Services Committee, which is our committee, will review application. For initial applications, so the ones that are listed on our agenda, we are going to hold a public hearing in November. As I said, this is a new process, and we want to allow for our community members to be aware of this and to also be able to give their feedback. We'll have the public hearing before our committee meeting, and the reason for that is I would like the committee members to also understand the questions from the public and be able to ask questions to the applicants in a more structured format, right? So that we are representing the concerns or the questions of the community members that we serve. And so that'll occur in November to enable community member input. They'll then be asked to present at our next committee meeting. We will vote on a single application by putting a motion to the floor. If the committee votes unfavorably, so if the committee votes it down, the district manager will send a letter of objection to the Office of Cannabis Management. If the committee votes favorably, the motion then goes to the executive committee. If the executive committee votes favorably, then it goes to the full board. And then if the full board votes in agreement, we will send the letter in favor of the application to the Office of Cannabis Management with whatever stipulations the board agrees to. And I just want to note that this process follows what we do with other kinds of votes, right? So in the Transportation Committee, if someone's asking for a letter of support for a city agency, if the motion doesn't carry in the committee meeting, it doesn't go anywhere from there.
Unless there's no quorum. Then
Unless
it goes to
there's,
executive.
and then it goes to executive. Thank you, AJ.
Well,
So,
I have a question real quick.
okay.
What if there's acceptance of the motion with reservation in committee, or if it's split? Could that be taken in consider prior to going to executive?
Let's hold so we can
Okay.
think about them.
Gotcha.
Okay. So just some questions and answers. What can we review? So again, we have the opportunity to express an opinion. We're not denying or approving the license ourselves. So I want everyone to be very clear about that. The entity that does that is the Office of Cannabis Management and the Cannabis Control Board. So we are an advisory body. So just want folks to know that. So our purpose is to review the location, right? Do we think that this is a sound location to put an establishment like this? Also, we could review hours of operation. So there's a note there, New York City cannabis establishments cannot operate between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. unless they have written permission to do so. And if a community board wanted to, they cannot restrict the hours of operation to be less than 70 hours a week. Another question, how much time do we have to review the application and send the letter to the Office of Cannabis Management? 30 days. However, the district manager can request a 30-day extension in full, giving the board 60 days to review applications. What if we receive multiple applications for a single address? So this has actually happened. If folks noted the addresses, we have 3 separate applications for 1 address. And we may conduct a single application review and submit a single memo of comments on location based on its appropriateness and relevant conditions. And does the Office of Cannabis Management require proof of lease or ownership? No, right? So remember, applicants are coming at the very beginning of this process. So they might not have a lease available. They just need a letter of intention. Because why would they want to put a business or rent out a store and commit themselves to a lease if they don't know if they're ultimately going to be able to get the license? And so OCM will give the applicant 12 months to secure the location and provide proof.
I didn't get that part. The thing is, if it's 3 individuals seeking 1 spot, what is our role in that?
We can write a single letter for that location and say we disagree or we agree that this would be a good location because of X, Y, and Z.
Per 1 applicant.
Per 1 applicant. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Carla, am I explaining it correctly?
Right. So I think what OCM is saying, because that was the case, it's basically they're doing it by a lottery system.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, if I have a 5-member family and I want to increase my chances, instead of me submitting 1 single application, I want to increase my chances to win this lottery. I have all my 5 family members submit an application for 1 single location. The community board can or the committee can decide to write a motion for each one of the applicants, or you write a motion to approve the location itself. So you're only making a motion for the location, which is what we have an advisory role in. But it has been everyone's experience that they're all getting a lot of applications for the same location. And if you look at the applicants, they're all coming from the same organization. So I think that has been the experience, and all community boards are experiencing this as well.
And if I'm not mistaken, so we have hyperlinked, Carla has hyperlinked more information about this process. And so I think I also saw in the regulations that they're not allowed to have many co-located. I think it's one per entity. So I'll look into that and give the community board an update, but that was my understanding as of when I read through
Right.
this.
So in a sense, they cannot. All 3 applications cannot be approved because they cannot coexist within 1,000 feet from each other. So only one can be approved. They're just want to increase their chances. So they're just, it's like a pool. So whoever gets it, and then everyone else gets a voided application.
Yep. And so just some related questions, but not related. So what is the Office of Cannabis Management doing around enforcement? So this is not for legal dispensaries. This process is just getting off the ground. So there aren't very many legal dispensaries right now that are for retail. They're mostly medical. And we have a medical dispensary in our community board on Fordham Road already. Verilife, they came to the committee, they did a presentation. We've seen their operations, and from what we know, things have been going smoothly on the Fordham area. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about the illegal smoke shops and cannabis dispensaries that are like all over community boards, all over New York City. Those are illegal. And so the Office of Cannabis Management has been working to do some enforcement around making sure folks know that they're illegal and really trying their very best to shut them down. So they have a report and incident portal that we can share with the community board. I know our district manager over the summer did a survey of where the ones in our district are located and was hoping to bring attention to that. So we want to make sure that while we're going through this process the legal way, right? So doing what we've been tasked to do, we're also addressing the illegal shops that are not regulated, which means they could be selling anything to anyone, and they're very, very problematic. So want folks to be able to hold both of those things together, because there's a difference between legal and illegal, and there is enforcement around the illegal shops. And so how can we tell if a business is operating illegally? So OCM has dispensary location verification decals that cannabis businesses should post on their windows. So you should be able to take your phone if they have a decal and it'll pull up the licenses, right, for that dispensary. If they don't have that, then they're most likely not legal. And so they should be reported. And so again, just reading through these materials, which I hope the committee will also do on their own time, you know, I learned that they can't even like market anything with the weed flower. Like that is a sign right there that that's an illegal shop, right? And so they cannot market to teenagers, right? They can't have cartoons because there are concerns about persons under 21 doing this. And so those shops are operating illegally and should be reported as such. And then where can we find out more information about this whole process? Again, we've hyperlinked this. I really encourage folks to read up on it, and if you have questions, to reach out to myself and Carla. I believe the Office of Cannabis Management came to a presentation in June to the executive committee to talk about this at a really high level. Again, this process hadn't been underway, so we're dealing with this and addressing these things as things come up. So now I want to move us into a question and answer by the committee, and then of course I would welcome feedback from the public. I want to start with Chad's question. So Chad, can you please restate your question?
Yeah, so let's say either we're deadlocked in committee 3-3 or 2-2, or everyone on the committee approves to move forward but have reservations over something. in any of those cases, could the motion still move forth to the executive? Or it has to be, the committee agrees in order to move to executive?
Yeah, so we have 7 committee members, so we should not be deadlocked unless folks are absent. So that's a good note, but we should not be deadlocked. And if folks want to amend the motion, they can amend the motion. So let's say that the consensus is generally that we agree or we oppose, but we have stipulations. We could amend our motion, and if the majority of the committee agrees, then we can go with that, and that goes forward to executive, and
Okay.
and vice versa. But this process will be as it is for other voting items,
Okay,
which means that majority vote is the thing that needs to carry it.
gotcha. I just wanted to be clear since this is something that we're doing specifically.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the
Alright,
question.
second.
I
Yeah,
appreciate the question.
you know, and to your question, you could write in the motion, as you were saying, we approve of this business, and if you know, you could say, but, and if the applicant decides to do, if the applicant actually wins the lottery, you could have the applicant request that the applicant come back to the community board to do a final presentation, to give us all an update. That could be one of the stipulations that you write
Okay.
in the motion. So it,
I saw something about the hours as
Mhm.
well, so, you know, again, we have to look at the limitations, but if we thought like, fine, but you know, they would, it would be best if they were through these hours. We could state that in our motion, and the letter could carry that, similar to other motions that we do. But it has to go through a vote in the committee.
Gotcha.
Yeah, go ahead,
So,
Toby.
2 questions.
Yep.
One, I know that they are not going to be allowed by schools, but I'm also wondering about community centers such as the Boys and Girls Club, which is on Bathgate. There's another one on University, I do believe that's District 5, but Montefiore. So what is going to be, is that going to be included in terms of being prohibited? Because you attend those programs, right? So that's one, and I would like to see that, because that is, if possible. The same thing with daycare centers, those that are operating in community, you know, the CBOs, which is the community board operating the community ones, which is very different from a family group center, right? So that, and then my other question is, I know we're separating the medical from the recreational, but are the two going to intersect? What do I mean by that? Will this person who wins this lottery be able to sell recreational as well as medicinal, because there may be a medical license attached to it? Are we gonna separate that out, or are we going to mix it up?
Those are all great questions. So, to my knowledge, and Carla, if you read anything differently, please flag it. So, community centers and daycare centers were not included in the list of places to stay away from. That's where I see this committee and the board able to opine on that, because we have the addresses and we know the facilities that are in close proximity. So that's something that I would invite this committee's perspective on, right?
And the baby just died in the district at a daycare center.
Right. So that'll be something that we hold and that we can discuss as we're reviewing these applications. In terms of the medical and retail licenses, so we spoke with VeriLife earlier this year, and for all intents and purposes, they are separate. So I don't know if VeriLife, if a medical marijuana dispensary will decide or will be able to open a retail shop, but they're different processes, and specifically the MRTA, one of the intentions behind it was to create equity in a space that has been heavily criminalize and penalize a lot of folks from disadvantaged communities, including people of color. And so the reason that they're doing this lottery system is so that not one organization or entity can come in and, for lack of a better word, cannibalize it and so like open all of these retail shops. They are trying to make it a competitive market where folks that have been previously impacted by negative marijuana legislation are able to then come into this model and become a retail opportunity. So that's what I know right now. And Toby, I will absolutely keep an eye on this. I can ask VeriLife, since they are in our community board. We can reach out to them and ask if their plans are changing. But they are two separate licenses, and from what VeriLife described, the medical license piece is really rigorous, and it's a different process.
Okay.
I from hearing all of this, and it all sounds nice, but I'm from the old school. And when we're talking about this, and very slightly we may talk about legal ramifications of criminal activity. When we know the majority of those who are getting licensed, that it was said that a lot of individuals who were locked up and things like that for marijuana sales will be able to get these licenses. And that sounds good. We want individuals to have a good paying, working, legal job. But, like you said, and these things come about because leave the hospital each day by DeWitt Clinton. Youth, police car out there, youth out there in the park area smoking in front of them. I walk by, look at the police, look at them, then I walk on. Because the thing about it is, it's good that this is coming for the United States, New York City, the Bronx, making money. It's good for that. But the infractions on what it can work out into a negative atmosphere behind this, they're not talking about this because this is about making money. And I do know that when they have these type of things going, I believe at these meetings, these type of meetings, someone should be here from the police department or whatever to make sure that there is constant for people who have children that may be in the park and get what they call a contact high, build an apartment, a contact high, and individuals getting sick. So there is a legal eye that needs to be kept on this whole process, and we need to hear more from our police department.
I appreciate that, those comments, Alfred. So what I will say, if they're by the high school, then we're presuming that they're not 21, right? So the police should be doing something about it because this is for 21 and older. That's number one. Number two, again, the law, and we know that the law is one thing and folks will do other things, so I don't want to be naive about that. However, it's for consumption at home or on site. And so I think you're right about having a perspective from the PD about what is happening with enforcement because, for example, you're not supposed to smoke in parks. You're not supposed to smoke tobacco, anything in parks. So that should not be a scenario that's occurring. Is it occurring? I am sure that folks can say yes. So it would be a really good and valuable thing to have our police department here to talk about, what are they enforcing or what are they not enforcing and why? Because we do know what the law says, but they might have a different policy for whatever reasons they have. But I appreciate that, and I will we'll talk to Carla and see where we can have them, like where it makes more sense, whether it's at the public hearing or here at the committee meeting, so that if folks have questions about how enforcement on individuals is being handled, we can have some insight to that. Would appreciate it. Do any other committee members have questions? I also want to make sure that folks know and have seen. So the questionnaire that we would want applicants to submit is at the back. So you will see all of the questions that the community board wants to know in order to be able to consider these applications. And Carla, I don't know if you wanted to say anything else about the questionnaire, the process, anything.
No, all I wanted to say was that, so there will be a link to the public hearing and the community meeting. We'll have a link to the answers that they have provided in a redacted form. In terms, I'm not giving away their email addresses, and I have to check with the legal department to see if I can share names. So anything that I cannot share, of course, it will be redacted out of the questionnaire, but anything that can be shared will definitely be available for review.
So it just occurred to me, one more question. So these dispensaries for retail, for recreational use, they're going to function like bars,
Like a liquor store.
like more like a liquor store?
You just go in and pick it
Okay.
up.
So I think, oh,
Because you mentioned usage in the physical.
That's a different
place.
that's a different license,
Okay.
right? So
Mhm.
on-site consumption is a different license, right?
Okay.
So from my understanding, from what I read, and again, you all will be able to access the materials, there are some really strict guidelines around what the business can look like. So I was reading that you can't have product just out in the open, right? You have to have it encased. You have to have safety and security protocols around it because it is a controlled substance.
Okay.
So it's not going to be something it should not be something that's easily accessible. It shouldn't be something that's marketing or encouraging minors to come in to purchase. Like, that's the way that the law has been written. If the Office of Cannabis Management or the control board sees something like that, that would not be acceptable. So in that sense, it would not operate as a bar. It would just be that you're able to come in without having a medical marijuana license and say, I'm here. I believe you would have to give some sort of identification as well. There's limits on how much you can purchase, right, by New York State. So, there are all those processes attached to that retail location.
Yeah, I went to so the borough president's office. She hosted I forgot what the name of it, but it was a make-believe experience about how a retail will operate, and it was like that. You enter, you see someone, they check your ID, you go in, and I think they gave me a little scanner as well. So once you go in, you see the product that you may be interested in. You do the little QR code, you get a printed receipt, and then you take it to a front desk. And then from the front desk, they go inside to actually access the product. So they're like Michelle said, it's not going to be out there on the shelves or anything like that.
Almost like a pharmacy base.
Yes,
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
much, yes.
Exactly. Any other questions from the committee before we open it up to the public? Okay,
I wrote a couple down, sorry.
go ahead, AJ.
Yes, ma'am. Is this the same questionnaire for the alcohol licenses, or is this a different process? And then with the names, say like John Gotti were to come apply, how would we know? So kind of disclose the names if you can. And then the 60 days, you said 30 days, it could be extended for 60. But what if,
30 additional.
yeah, what if that's missed? From what I believe when OCM came, it might have been to another community board, but they said if you guys don't meet the timeline, it's an automatic yes, and the community board is like basically agreeing with it. So if you guys can just check up on that. And also, I think it's a good thing. I grew up during stop and frisk where people would just be like throwing up against the wall and like check their pockets for cannabis. So I think it's a good thing that now you can smoke it anywhere you can a cigarette. I'm kind of a big advocate for that. On the Parks Department website, it says you can smoke in center medians and on the sidewalks at Center Park. I brought it up to when OCM was here. So Marshall Lou, the sidewalks count, they confirmed that. I also think it's a great way to raise taxes and money for the education system instead of these empty buildings that are lining the business strips. And it's a great way for the government. But there's a lot of talk about it being legalized, but will they be unionized? Or does that just get jumped over because now it's legal?
Wow.
And then the kids thing, because it is allowed anywhere in a cigarette. I grew up, my civil rights and liberties don't get triumphed because you don't know how to watch your kids, you don't know how to handle them. if they get into the weed, that should be on the parent, not on my rights being taken away. Because for so long, people were thrown up against buildings, were systematically disenfranchised for cannabis. That's what this is trying to address. That the whole like fear mongering about kids, that should be on the parents watching them. Thank you so much.
Thanks, AJ. So I heard 3 questions
Yes, ma'am.
there. So Carla, the questionnaire, it's adapted, right, from something similar?
Yeah, so it's definitely based on the SLA protocol, but also is based on other cannabis questionnaires that other community boards have put together. So, I meet with other district managers in New York City often, and this has been a topic for several months. And so we all put our different questionnaires into a drive, and so we all pretty much composed anything that we felt was the most adequate questionnaire for
I
our
like the questions, but
community,
I think there hasn't been one liquor license since I've been coming to the board, so I don't really know what that process is. And now there's like a questionnaire. I'm like, oh, why do we ask the cannabis but not the liquor? Where those people drink and drive, there's like way more information on that being bad for the neighborhood. We used to have a whole bunch of bars; they've all disappeared. Now we have all these cannabis spots. I'm like, oh, but thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. And then I heard I think there were 2 in there.
The 60 days, 30 days. If you missed that,
so
what happens?
I don't know. Do you know, Carla, what happens if we don't respond? If the community board doesn't respond?
If the community board doesn't respond, then like you said, OCM will just make a decision based on the lottery, and it would just mean that we are not giving our opinion on the matter.
But not that we're saying that we're in favor.
Not that you're in favor of.
But
You
you're not
just
saying
didn't
no.
give
No.
your opinion.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
you're just not saying it.
Okay, thank you.
Silence equals death, though. So sorry.
And
Yeah.
thank you for your
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
for your feedback.
Unionized? You think we're gonna get a unionized
Oh,
weed shop?
unionized. So, I have to check in on this. I'm just having like some recollections from the Verilife, so the medical marijuana dispensary on Fordham Road. I think that there was some type of organization, like union organizing within their.
Is that because insurance help pays for that?
I don't know, but
Yes.
I'm going to look into it. I will also say that this is a new space for New York State, right? So if maybe it's not the case now, but they'll probably be looking to other states and other local chapters. And if there's a spot for it, I can't imagine that they wouldn't want to come into
So I would
this.
rather the cannabis shops than like those casino licenses everybody's talking about going all around Manhattan. I'd rather one of these. Thank you so much.
I'll double check on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Other community member question, feedback? Okay,
I'm ready.
you're ready.
All right, first thing, your application, I want to touch that before I talk. Is the proposal location within 200 feet of a house of worship? Okay. Are you depending on the applicant to fill that out? And if he says yes or no, he's gonna say no, who's gonna verify that if it is or isn't the location?
Well, we are asking the applicant to certify, so they do have to respond. And then again, Serio, so we as a community, this committee and as a community board, that's what we're here to do. So we can put it on Google Maps and see what's around. Carla, did you want to talk about the idea that you had?
Right, so Google Maps has a feature where you can measure how far something is. We can definitely do it by that, but then there'll also be a public hearing, and we'll be able to post notices near where the location is being proposed. That way, those residents are aware of what's happening, and everyone will be able to give their opinion in the matter.
Right.
We're absolutely not, like you said, experts into everything that's happening on every single block in
Right.
the district, but this is when we come together as a community to really address all of these things.
All right. Now, sadly, the law has been passed. I am very involved with history. What happened before will happen again. And if you don't know where you've been, you're not gonna know where you're going. Okay? And we are in a state now where anything that's hard to enforce, we draw up our arms and we make it legal. We give up too easily on problems. Like marriages now, everybody's getting annulment. So now nobody even gets married. So I can go on and on and on. But basically here, the legitimate thing is that gambling, prostitution, drugs, all gotta be legal. And this is supposed to solve all of, not, because they don't want people to be criminals, they wanna make it legally, but that doesn't make it right, okay? The worst thing in the world, and I grew up in the 60s, okay? So I'm gonna tell you right now, I was born in the 50s, and I grew up in the 60s, and they were selling me sex, drugs, and rock and roll, okay?
They still got them. They still
And
got
I'm
them.
telling you right now, please do not let me speak. Let me speak. No comments, please. I'm not afraid. I look at the marijuana, any drugs, anything, it was a direct response that baby died because of the government relaxing the rules on things. And little Nicholas died on a bed of fentanyl. Okay, and if you future people, because I will still be here, but you future people allow this kind of bullshit to become on every single corner, you're gonna have a lot of problems. You think you got problems now? Okay? We got licenses for dogs. You got gun licenses. You got a license to get married. You got car licenses. How many of all those licenses and all those law enforcements and people break the laws? Okay? It's gonna happen. I lived through the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, was shot and killed. So nobody is, don't tell me we're safe or this is gonna solve problems. It ain't gonna solve nothing. The President of the United States, the man who should have been well protected in my lifetime, was killed. Now that, everybody else, that's just history, it's in the books. Okay? I personally do not want any dispensary on the strip where the campus of DeWitt Clinton is. And I don't care how far away it is. We already have enough problems with the kids hanging out at the pizza shops. Wait till this place gets open. Now, I read the newspapers, the New York Post did a survey where teenagers are, 90% of the kids going to school are stoned on marijuana. Now, I didn't do the survey, but I read it. I could be wrong, maybe it ain't 90, don't tell me it's 60, it could have been 25, could have been 10. Even if it's 1%. You say that adults 21 to possess cannabis and shit. I had all that stuff shoved in my face. Everybody wanted to turn on and tune out, and I didn't go for it. You know why? Because they wanted to give me the drugs so that, for free, so that in 2 weeks later, when I wanted to get high again, oh, you gotta pay me now. Okay? This is all a thing to make taxes. That's what they want to do. You didn't learn from alcohol. Alcohol was legal, and then they made it illegal, which created a whole organized crime. We would have never had organized crime if it wasn't for the ban on alcohol. Then they brought it back. Did they reward the organized crime guys with licenses to sell the alcohol? If you break the law, that tells you what kind of character you are. Okay? All I'm saying is, you haven't lived through shit. You don't know what it's like. I'm gonna tell you, for all the years I know, it's very hard to do the right thing. It's so easy to do wrong, and it's very hard to make the right decision. I support marijuana for medical reasons. That, I will say definitely. I know people who survived because they were smoking marijuana, because they were dying from cancer. Okay, but to recreational, people don't know how to be recreational without stepping on other people's toes. I sit in my house and I smell the marijuana coming through my 30 feet of house that I own. Because the knuckleheads next door want to smoke out their window. They just want to smoke and their windows are open. This is all well and good, but there's going to be absolutely no way to enforce this. We have e-bikes, they're all legal, and they're all on the sidewalk. I'm saying too much, taking up your times, but as far as I'm concerned, if you can have the power to say no to a location, say no. Okay?
Thank you, Serial.
And that's it, really. It's law now, but once again, some laws were wrong. I married my wife. I broke the law in about 25 states of the United States. My wife is Jamaican. I would have been, if I had left New York City and went anywhere else, I would have been elected back in the 50s. I understand a lot of laws that are unjust. Okay, we've been through a lot of stuff that was unjust.
Thank you.
But this kind of stuff, anything that takes a human being away from living their life for partying, the partying comes more important than anything. And the reason why I'm very upset and angry is because, see, I fostered kids whose parents, who it was more important for them to shoot up drugs or smoke pot than it was to raise their own kids. And I'm stuck trying to put these kids back together, okay? The same thing, when they legalize needles, they decriminalize it because we don't want drug addicts as a sickness. Now you took away the police's weapon to stop people.
I appreciate your comments, Serial, and I appreciate your
And I really did, this wasn't for you people.
No.
I was expecting to see these clowns who put in the applications. Okay?
Well, so
Uh,
I'm gonna wrap up, but I just wanna
Yeah,
see,
I'm
does
sorry.
anyone else, any member of the public, any committee member have questions about our process, what we're gonna be doing?
I just have a comment and one question.
Sure,
very
yeah,
briefly.
yeah.
Just a comment just on what was mentioned earlier, was it Edward?
Alfred.
Alfred, sorry, Alfred. And I was at the Bedford Rochdale Community Association meeting a month ago or thereabouts, and they did talk about how the police monitor at least inside buildings, residential buildings a little bit, so I'm sure the community affairs officers would be happy to explain that to committee at some point, but that's for you.
Thank
You
you.
know, they have a lot of things where they use as sayings on TV. You know, remember that one? Promise on anything but give all cash. And that's when the police said they will monitor buildings. I live in Tracy Towers. Nice sign says that. People throwing off the roof, murder, anything, they don't come inside. The River Park Towers, police, they don't go over there. So it's wonderful to say it, but it's a different thing to do. So I'll end with, when all this is about money and everything like that, I notice on the dollar bill it says, "E pluribus unum," in God we trust, but all others pay cash, and this makes money. And money is what I notice that people stand on. They don't believe in the religious aspect of the church and God when it comes down to here. It is about $1. And the shame of it is, we all want to make a decent salary, we all want decent money or whatever. But these things have come to pass over and over. Because prior to, when you mentioned John F. Kennedy, it was a shame he got shot. But I remember his father. And his father was a major bootlegger
True.
when alcohol was illegal. And so sometimes you get the good with the bad, but you gotta know the history and the cycle of things. It was money. And money, they say, is the root of all evil. And I don't believe it is. I believe how you use it, because when you evil, you got to have a bank account.
Yep. And did you have one more?
Just one question, just in light of what Carl mentioned earlier, that from analysis, it seems like it's the same applicant behind several applications. Like, how will they then I guess it's just a question, I don't know if it can be addressed or asked to the cannabis board. Like, how will they address that equality that they were hoping to achieve in terms of the people who have been disenfranchised availing of the lottery? If, will there be a mechanism to ensure that if, given what we know so far, most of the applications are coming from the same person, it seems, or same entity?
Yes.
Do you know, Carla?
I do know that they have the tool. They have a couple of tools to see who is a WMBE, who lives in a district that has been impacted by high rates of felonies based on marijuana. So they do have all of that, but we can definitely elevate that question so we can get a more so we can get a better response from them and relay that information.
Last question. Anyone else?
Well,
So,
the other thing I wanted to say is, when you leave it to self-discipline, that the people are gonna self-police themselves and they're gonna do the right thing, my experience, ain't gonna happen. Okay, so, you see it with the car washes. Now, there you go. They once again, they use this term, semi-legalized. What does that mean, semi-legalized? So now you got car washes everywhere, and there is no enforcement.
Yeah.
And this is what we do here. We do things half-ass.
yeah,
Anything I said,
cereal.
I tried.
We wanna.
But you understand what I'm saying?
protect our-
Everything is half done. Nobody thinks anything out fully.
Yeah.
Okay, and then now, and the guys who've been in business,
Mhm.
car washes who have a brick and stone,
Yeah. They
they're
go into
losing
business.
money.
So I just saw the security guard. We want to make sure that we leave timely.
Yeah.
So I just want to go ahead, Carla. Go ahead.
And the QR codes are in the back with a link to where you can find more information about it. The Q&A that the Office of Cannabis Management has gets updated often. So this version is the version from October 11th, but I just saw on their website that they actually have one that was updated today.
Oh wow.
So we're moving as fast as we can with all these documents being updated very often. But
Thank you, Carla. Thank you. And so the second to last page of your agenda, it has our protocol. As a committee, we are the stewards of this, right? We're representing our community. So I really, really ask that you go through this before the public hearing and before our next committee meeting so that you're clear about what our process is, and as a committee member you come with the questions that you have for the applicants and also that you think community members might have, right? And so because of the 30-day notice and because November there are a couple of holidays, we're going to be moving our meetings up. So both the public hearing and our committee meeting are going to be 1 week up, and Carla's going to send out the notice for us. So please hold it on your calendars. Please make every effort to be here. If you have questions, please email me and Carla, and we will absolutely be in touch. But I want folks to come to our November meeting feeling confident and that they know what we're doing.
What's the likelihood of a December meeting?
For this,
Yeah.
um,
Or it's too soon to say?
I think
Carla can answer.
I think it's very likely. They extended the deadline for applications, and that is December 18th at 5 p.m. So
Oh, okay. Just wanna let you
There
know.
will be more applications coming.
Yeah,
Okay.
Maybe, we'll see.
we'll see.
Some community boards have received 60, 70 applications.
Yep.
We received 4, and one of them withdrew their application, so now we only have 3. And it's for the same location, so.
Oh, so that one on Marshall Parkway, I'm gonna be measuring the distance to Clinton.
Oh, see,
Erotica? That's what they call it?
It's
Well-
3 of them.
Well, those
The
are
one that-
illegal if they're remember, this is happening now that folks are putting in their application. So unless they have the decal in the window and you can pull up your camera and see if they have the license, they are illegal, and so we should be reporting them. So Carla circulated the agenda, and we can, from my committee, when I send you all our follow-up meetings, I'll send you the link to the portal to report. Like, let's get those illegal shops closed, because they are selling unregulated things. Could be harmful for our folks, our community.
I forgot, you said the thing about the cartoons, what was that you were saying?
Right,
Yeah.
so they're, as per the Office of Cannabis Management, they're not supposed to have cartoons in like either the signage or in the shop, you know, so they said something like,
No
oh,
branded
there might be a,
mascots.
there might be a shop that will have like Charlie Brown or cartoons that are marketing it, and that is marketing to young people, right? And young people are not allowed to consume this. So if you see a store that's doing that, they are more than likely illegal. So they should not be doing that, and they should be reported.
yes.
Now, I hate to take up the time, but you know, smoke shops, you know, back in the day, a smoke shop, you buy your tobaccos and stuff, which were legal.
Yeah.
And a lot of these places opened up for
Bless you.
powering a few, but not the substance that goes in it. You know what I mean? Pipes, this thing, that thing, whatever it is, you know. And then all of a sudden, though, that's what I mean when you say it's illegal, but it's,
The gray area.
you have a license to sell tobacco. I mean, how do you know they're selling the marijuana? See, you understand? I'm a little confused here.
So they cannot have, yes.
For you to know, there should be a QR code in front of the store. If that QR code is not in front of the store, they are illegal.
Okay, knowing the way people work, how do you know that somebody didn't fabricate one and put it in the window?
When you take a picture with your phone,
It's like a giant.
yeah.
There's a giant New York State, a big QR code, and there's like I think a number you can call.
And you're supposed to see their
It's like a
license.
giant
You're
decal, like the
supposed to
taxi
be able to see
medallions.
their license.
It's like a big medallion.
Yeah, that I can understand,
Yeah.
but I'm not big on this UR code,
Yeah.
Yeah.
QR.
QR, see,
Yeah.
But there should be a number
They're in the
on
back.
there's one that you
To
can
me,
call.
it looks like ink spots when I had to go into case.
You could actually let one of us take a look at it, and we can give a second
I can
opinion.
take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sheila, did you
I
have
was
something?
just gonna say very quickly, we just put out a story recently actually, because there were a number of complaints in Assembly District 80, and so Assemblyman John Sicari
That's
Jr.
us,
had
yeah.
liaised with the Sheriff's Department, and they did a sweep of
On that side of town, not our side.
Yeah, but that was based off of community
Based on the complaints,
Yeah.
yes.
And again, I know Carla has collected locations and asked board members to report them.
Yes.
So if folks are seeing them, please send the location. We'll continue collecting them, and we will continue reporting. And maybe we can get our elected officials involved so that
Yes.
similar rates could happen in our side of the district.
Right, they're not allowed to advertise anything, so no lights, no marijuana leaves on the front of the store, nothing
What
that's
about
too.
inside?
Even the name, I believe, has to be sensitive. They-
Right, yes, it
Yeah.
cannot be too obvious.
Yep.
You know, I just had a thought, and I wondered, the medical establishments, are they connected to any hospitals or insurance plans? Do we know of anything like that?
We can ask again, Verilife.
Okay.
I don't think insurance. I will
Right.
ask. I will ask.
I don't think for the city hospital, and I'm gonna take a chance on this, but I don't think the city hospital is involved, because the only thing the city would be involved in pertaining to the pharmacy. And I don't believe any one of the doctors would send anybody to the pharmacy within the hospital to go get some marijuana.
And I know that, so you can get, for a medical marijuana license, you need a doctor to prescribe it. It has to be a qualifying condition. So I'm assuming that there could be a doctor that, you know, is saying, hey, you know, you're this kind of patient, marijuana may be something that could help you. I encourage you to apply for a license. And then you will Google what is the closest dispensary for medical, and then you would see that it's the one on Fordham Road. I don't know that they're routing patients there, but I know that, you know, in order to get the license, you have to have a referral from a doctor.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
I move to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thanks,
time.